A lot of people have been asking me, will it still happen? But it's actually not about the price, by the way. What it's actually about is the fact that Zebec cards, back in May, they made a post saying how more Tier 1 sports campaigns coming this fall. So what does that mean? Fall, we're close approaching that, at least the start of it, right? I believe it's probably going to start around September 22nd or something like that. So what that means is that we could very well be so close to seeing whether or not Zebec is actually going to be starting another sports campaign, because we've already seen them do it before, but apparently they might do it again. So sometimes people like to ask me, will it still happen? Well, there's a lot to unpack here, but personally, I don't see why it wouldn't happen, because usually when they announce things, they typically go through with it. So I don't see why they wouldn't do it. But of course, there's more to that, and I'll explain what I mean by this in today's video, and also talk about the price a little bit later. But I first want to clarify, I am not telling anyone to do anything. It's just my perspective, my review, and nothing I say is financial advice. When it comes to this sports campaign that they speak of, right? I'm pretty sure that they're probably going to stick through with it, because in the past, they've already said that, hey, we're going to do this and do that, and they've been doing it, especially when it comes to the case of advertising. So I don't see why they wouldn't. But I think this also brings another question, because some people have been wondering, well, why would they even bother with advertising, especially in 2026 when the market isn't doing the best? Now, I think there's probably multiple reasons which I could speculate. Reason number one, I think it's probably because Zebec's goal anyways isn't for short-term hype or attention, in which case, if the goal isn't for short-term hype and attention, then it makes sense to actually advertise at a time when the market isn't even necessarily having the best sentiment anyways. Because if we take a look at it, by Zebec advertising, let's say they're planning to do that through sports campaigns in fall of this year, which is probably somewhere near the end of September, like September 22nd or something like that, the start of fall, allegedly. Now, if we take a look at that right there, yeah, sure, it probably might not be the best timing, but it could matter, because Zebec's intent is to put themselves out there. Their intent is to have more recognizability, because their goal is to actually have more users and have more people using their product and services. That's the thing. The CEO of Zebec himself, Simon, by the way, not that long ago, he did clarify that the reason why Zebec is able to thrive in the way that they are is because their business model is not selling what they're holding. In a sense where sometimes we see some projects out there, like the company behind the project, because they hold so many of the tokens, what they do during a market downturn is that they just keep purposely, exiting like that out of their holdings. So it's not sustainable, right? But what Zebec does allegedly, when it comes to, according to Simon, is that they're actually able to survive due to the revenue that they actually get from their products and services. So when I take a look at that right there, Zebec is not reliant on constantly selling what they have. That's not what they're reliant on. They're reliant on their products and services. So it would make sense why they would want to advertise their brand, right? Because that is how, in theory, they could get more individuals to actually care about their products and services. That's the thing. So that's a misconception. Had Zebec's, main intent been to just create short-term hype and attention, then it wouldn't make sense to be caring so much about a sports campaign, especially in 2026 when it comes to this. But because that's not their goal, it suddenly starts to make a little bit more sense, at least to me, because again, if their goal is to put their name out there and not to care about hype or attention, but to actually care more so about, expanding their user base, then it starts making sense. You know what I mean? It's like, for instance, if let's say I want to go hiking, but then I end up snorkeling, it doesn't really make sense, because the intent and the end goal seems to be a little bit different. But if my intent is to go hiking and then I go hiking, then it makes sense, right? And then if I want to go snorkeling and then I actually go snorkeling, it makes sense. So when it comes to Zebec, they've thought about this. Keep in mind, they have a team. It's not like they're doing this type of stuff out on a whim. That's not the case. So they've thought about this. And even if I can think about it, imagine what they can think of. You know what I mean? They'd probably think about even way more possibilities. I'm just one person. So again, when it comes to Zebec, I don't necessarily view it as a failure that, they're trying to do a sports campaign later on this year. No, I don't think so. I think if anything, they know what they're doing when it comes to that side of things. Now, can they affect the price? No, I don't think so. I don't think Simon could just randomly, you know, sit down and say, hey, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, or whatever. No, I mean, I don't think he can ever do that. There's no way, right? So when it comes to this, Zebec is not down basically because it's doing so bad or because the project doesn't want it to go up, because there's this misconception where people seem to think that, oh, Simon, the CEO, is purposely not allowing this to do that or do whatever. I mean, he can't do that though. It just doesn't make sense. Like, what can he do? Control the altcoin space? No way. Who is he to be able to do that? I don't think he could do it. And again, that just showcases that literally this being down is not necessarily because, Simon wanted it to be that way. At least that's the way I view it. It's because the whole market isn't doing the best. So what I'm seeing as of right now is not necessarily concerning, but again, the reason why I'm not necessarily concerned is because a lot of projects are just going down regardless as of right now, generally speaking, compared to where they were like last year and the year before. But given at a time when things are low, I want to see a project that's still continuing to build, thrive, and put themselves out there. And I'm seeing that hypothetically just because Zebec cards, they did recently announce that there's going to be more Tier 1 sports campaigns coming this fall. So straight off the bat, again, they're not giving up, it seems like. And why would they? They're not reliant on hyper-attention anyways. So this is all background noise. And again, I've just never seen a permanent bear market ever when it comes to this space. Projects can come and go, but I've just never seen a permanent bear market ever when it comes to this space. We'll wait and see though, but I'm just saying, if Zebec can just survive this market downturn, it's already kind of there fundamentally, right? There's already the key ingredients. Now the missing ingredient is just the salt. In terms of an analogy. It's like, for instance, let's say I make chicken pot pie, I have everything, kind of ready to go. And let's say the missing ingredient is only just salt. Yeah, I can just put it on top of it. That's it. So when it comes to this space as of right now, to me, it's just kind of like waiting because the fundamentals are already there. The missing ingredient is just a hypothetical altcoin season and a big change in market sentiment. That's kind of it. But that requires me waiting though. But I don't mind waiting because I feel like the hard part, I already did the hard part when it comes to like taking a look at which projects I'm a fan of, taking a look at the fundamentals and actually spending time to research it. That I feel like is the more difficult part. Now it's just the waiting, at least personally for me. No, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but it's just like, for instance, let's say I'm painting a wall. The hard part is prepping the wall, painting it, putting the masking tape and all this. That's the difficult part. The easiest part, which is actually also coincidentally the most boring part, is waiting for the paint to dry, right? It's the most boring, but it's actually the easiest because literally all the hard work has already been done. So when it comes to this space, I kind of view it a little bit no different. It's like, okay, I already believed in the projects that I believed in. I'm already dollar cost averaging approximately once a month. I'm already taking a look at the fundamentals. I'm already researching and all this. Now I'm just waiting. So I'm just waiting for the paint to dry, so to speak. I don't have to though, but it's just something I'm voluntarily doing. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But also, when I take a look at it, Zebec, yeah, I mean, it hasn't really done much. It's kind of stagnating a little bit. I mean, for the past week, it's just pretty much been the same. Hasn't really done anything. But you know what? When it comes to this market cap right here at around 180 million, keep in mind, we're around 3 times away from its peak last year. Its peak last year wasn't even considered that good anyways. Like, it wasn't at a time when altcoins were at an all-time high, generally speaking, when it comes to this space, historically at least. It wasn't like it was a full-on altcoin season, not really. And Zebec, like, kind of casually reached around a 540 million market cap, just like that, last year. Casually, like, not even during a full-on altcoin season, no. Just like, whoa, suddenly it just did that. So it showcases that around a 540 million market cap isn't even this intense, milestone anyways in the grand scheme of things. But yet, currently Zebec is around 3 times away from that, which showcases just how much this has gone down, which at first glance, I get it. It may seem kind of like a bad thing, but I just don't mind the dip. But besides that, when I take a look at it, Zebec, in 2026, the amount of holders hasn't been decreasing, by the way. It's been actually increasing. I remember, when I was making videos Earlier on this year, it was like at around 90,000 holders. Now it's almost at 110,000, which is kind of surprising because people are like, whoa, how can this increase by well over 10,000 holders in 2026? How does that make sense? Well, I think it's because Zebec, they just keep on building and they keep on thriving. So yes, people are leaving, but also some people are entering. That's the way to take a look at it. I mean, it's not really affecting the price in any sort of significant way anyways, but I'm just saying, while the space isn't doing the best, I'm still seeing people enter, which is so surprising. And people don't usually want to enter at a time like right now if the project isn't good, interesting, or fundamentally sound. So when I see Zebec actually increasing in terms of the amount of holders, I think it at least showcases how people may view this from a fundamental perspective. That's the thing. However, I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. So I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very spectacular and amazing day. It's been Lee the Captain.